بسم الله الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله رب زدني علما. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. أو كالذي مر على قرية وهي خاوية على عروشها قال أنى يحيي هذه الله بعد موتها فأماته الله 100 عام ثم بعثه قال كم لبثت قال لبثت يوما أو بعض يوم قال بل لبثت 100 عام فانظر إلى طعامك وشرابك لم يتسنه وانظر إلى حمارك ولنجعلك آية للناس وانظر إلى العظام كيف ننشزها ثم نكسوها لحما فلما تبين له قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. In this ayah, Allah Almighty is an example and just for us to understand that Allah is all capable, He can do anything. And now He is giving this example for the people, for Ummah, for all human, to just understand that Allah Almighty does whatever He wants, and He can make possible any impossible thing. Everything
Yes.
is possible for Him. Like nothing is impossible for Him. It's we are people, like we think this is possible, this is impossible.
This is impossible, but
Yeah.
there's no such word as impossible
No,
for
no,
him.
no such word in His dictionary. Impossible. Yeah, nothing is impossible. So let's read this example, and we are going to translate the verse. Nothing in it, just gaining some knowledge, and Allah Almighty is just giving this example so that we can gain some knowledge about it, and we can gain some taqwa also. So let's translate. Or like the one who passed by a township, وَهِيَ خَاوِيَةٌ عَلَى عُرُوشِهَا, and it had overturned on its roof. قَالَ أَنَّى يُحْيِي هَذِهِ اللَّهُ بَعْدَ مَوْتِهَا. He said, how will bring to life this town Allah after its death? فَأَمَاتَهُ اللَّهُ, then Allah caused him to die for 100 years. Then He raised him. A person was passing by, and
Mhm.
he just thought that, oh, everything is just ruined and the complete town, like, so how Allah Almighty will bring dead bodies to life?
Oh, okay. So
Yeah,
he was
كيف.
already questioning.
Yes, like كيف يحيي هذه الله. قال أن يحيي هذه الله بعد موتها. أن, like كيف, how Allah will bring it to life. فأماته الله. So to make him understood, Allah gave him a self example, living example. فأماته الله. Then Allah caused him to die. 100 عام, for 100 years. ثم بعث. Then He raised him. Then He brought him back to life. قال كم لبثت. He said, how long have you remained? قال لبثت يوما أو بعض يوم. He said, I remained for a day or a part of a day. And it's like 1/4 or half a day or one day.
Mm-hmm.
قال, he said, بل لبثت 100 عام فانظر إلى طعامك وشرابك لم يتسنى. Nay, you have remained 100 years. Then look at your food and your drink. They did not change with time. Like it's our qudra. We are capable. So just have a look at your food, at your drink. Everything is just like it was. وَانظُرْ إِلَى حِمَارِكَ, and look at your donkey. وَلِنَجْعَلَكَ آيَةً لِلنَّاسِ, and we will make you a sign for the people. we will make you a sign for the people, like a person who was died 100 years before and now he is alive. So it's something very strange and different. Like a person is thinking about me or anybody else that he has died. Okay, and he has told to many people, his son and his like grandson, that I had a friend. He was died there, and this and that. And after 2 or 3, his like his grandson has a son and all. Then he just alive. Oh, I know you're dead.
Yeah. I feel like for the people before, Allah was giving much more clearer sign, like direct signs.
Yeah, sure.
To some people, I think, yeah.
Allahu Akbar. So it's like, oh, you know my dad? Your grandfather, I know. How? My great grandfather.
Great
وَلِنَجْعَلَكَ آيَةً
grandfather.
لِلنَّاسِ, and we will make you a sign for the people. And look at the bones, عظام, كيف ننشزها, how we raise them. ثم نكسوها لحما, then we cover them with flesh. فلما تبين له قال أعلم أن الله على كل شيء قدير. Then when became clear to him, he said, I know that Allah is all, everything, all powerful. So I think this is a story Allah has told in this verse. So there is nothing to say more. I mean, no need for any type of interpretation. Just accept that Allah is capable and He can do anything, whatever He wants. He is all powerful. Ala kulli shayin qadir. And we have discussed earlier, Alam tara ila alladhi hajja Ibrahim fi Rabbi, that Hazrat Ibrahim, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam, went to it was I think Qarun, or who was Fir'aun.
Oh yeah, when they were talking about
Yes.
trying to, yeah.
It was, I think, Fir'aun.
I don't know.
Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam. Namrud. This was Namrud. Yes. The Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wassalam went to Namrud, and then after that, in this verse, this was an example about a person, and now Allah Almighty is also giving an example about Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. And it was a time when he asked and he said something. So, وَإِذْ قَالَ إِبْرَاهِيمُ رَبِّ أَرِنِي كَيْفَ تُحْيِي الْمَوْتَى قَالَ وَلَمْ تُؤْمِنْ قَالَ بَلَى وَلَكِنْ لِيَطْمَئِنَّ قَلْبِي قال فخذ 4 من الطير فصرهن إليك ثم اجعل على كل جبل منهن جزءا ثم ادعوهن يأتينك سعيا واعلم أن الله عزيز حكيم. And when said Ibrahim, my Lord, show me how you give life to the dead. He said, have not you believed? He said, yes. And but to satisfy my heart. He said, then take 4 of the birds and familiarize them.
Yeah, familiarize
towards you. Then put on each hill a portion of them. SubhanAllah. Then call them, they will come to you in haste. And know that Allah is almighty, all wise.
See, that's what I was saying. Like, He was saying, if you ask the same question now, you just have to believe this.
Yeah,
I think.
there is like it's out of imagination. Is it possible?
Yeah.
But if Quran says, "Amanna sadaqna," we believe,
No, that's what I was talking about, like
and we will
sign. I mean, Ibrahim was best friend with Allah. He was talking directly with him. SubhanAllah. So it's good.
This is
Nowadays, if someone says, I don't believe, nothing. Allah said, I already given you enough signs. If you don't believe, Allah said.
So this is the third story taken up in the above verses. We have discussed like Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam went to Namrud, and the second one, a person was passing by a town, and he said that how you will bring all these dead people back to life. And now Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam himself said that, oh Allah Almighty, how you will give them life, these dead people. So the story is that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam sought from Allah Almighty the favor of being shown is to how he will bring the dead back to life. Allah Almighty asked him why he made such a request. Was it because he did not believe in his perfect power, which controls everything? Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam explained his true state of mind. In fact, there was no question of his being suspicious about the resurrection, because the infinite power of Allah is manifest every moment to every sensible person, both in the universe and in his own being. However, it is a part of human nature that unless one sees an unusual event happening before his own eyes, he keeps wondering how and in what manner it is going to happen. Such thoughts often disturb one's peace of mind. It was in this context that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam made a request to Allah for witnessing the procedure of the revival of the dead. Accepting this request, Allah Almighty provided for him an exceptionally unusual scenario for personal sighting, which at the same time was to show a resolution of all doubts and misgivings the disbelievers nursed. That scenario was activated when he was commanded to get hold of 4 birds and keep them as pets. When they grow so domesticated that they come to him at his call, and he too starts knowing them well enough, so that there remains no doubt about a stranger bird taking their place. So true. Then he should kill those 4 birds, make mincemeat of everything, bones, feathers, all included, dividing it in several portions. After that, using his own discretion, he should place 1 portion each on top of a different hill. Then he was to call them, Shaa Allah, they shall come back to life by the perfect power of Allah Almighty and come running to him. Subhanallah. In Tafsir Ruhul Ma'ani, on the authority of Ibn al-Mundhir, radiyallahu ta'ala, it has been narrated from Sayyidina Hasan radiyallahu ta'ala that Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam did what he was commanded to do when he called them. Then in no time, bone to bone, feather to feather, flesh to flesh, everything took its original form. The birds came alive and came running to Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam. Allah Almighty said, "O Ibrahim, this is how on the day of resurrection I shall assemble in no time all parts and bodies and breathe life into them. The Quran has used the expression يَأْتِينَكَ سَعْيًا, and to you they shall come running. These particular words mean that the birds will come running, which tells us a very important part of this story, that these birds will come running, which tells us that they will not come flying, because if they came flying across the sky, the doubt that they went out of sight and were replaced in the process, so would remain. Now, if they came running on the ground, they will be flee in sight. Through this happening, Allah Almighty made Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam see a simple indicator of life after death, following resurrection, which helped resolve through visual experience all doubts expressed by polytheists and disbelievers. That there is rising after death and that there is life in the hereafter give disbelievers their greatest difficulty in comprehension. They think man becomes dust after death. Then somewhere this dust scatters away with the wind, somewhere it flows away with water, somewhere it reappears in the form of trees and planted fields, so much so that it is particles spread out to the far sides of the world. Now, together these scattered parcels and human parts, and to infuse life into them, are things short-sighted. Man finds difficult to understand because he measures everybody on the scale of his own power and status, and does not deliberate in the non-analogous power above him. Although, should he peep a little into his own being, he would start seeing that even today his existence is a collection of parts and particles spread all over the world. The mother and father through whom man comes into being, and the food that goes to make their blood and body, are themselves nothing else but particles brought together from different corners of the world. Then comes the post-birth period, deliberation in which will show that the food causing growth, causing formation of blood and flesh is totally composed of different particles coming from all over the world. The milk that man drinks is part of some cow, of water, buffalo, or goat, and these composed parts came into those animals through the fodder that they have eaten. Who knows? The calf and grain in their fodder came from which country? And who can tell how the winds roaming round the world have introduced particles from many and unnamed land into their nurture? So, one can only marvel in how many ways and from how many corners of the world the perfect power and the precise plan of Allah Almighty has accumulated in the body of one man. The whole wide world produce its grain and fruits of one man. Its grain and fruits and everything else man eats and uses as medicine, and which become parts of his body. So if a man negligent and short-sighted would for a moment leave the world aside and get on with doing little research on his own body, he would discover that his being itself is composed of so many parts, some of which belongs to the earth, some to the west, some to the south, and is still some to the north. Right this day, the precise plan of divine power has accumulated in his body all those particles scattered around the world. And after death, these particles will disperse again in the same manner. Now, why should it be at all difficult for his perfect power to assemble them a second time? Especially so when he was the one who had assembled these scattered particles in his being. So it's not difficult second time, because making something being, it was nothing. Something was nothing, and he made it something. So it's very difficult for us. Like we understand, there is nothing. So one man is innovating something. So it's like, oh, he's an innovator. He has invented. And one person assembling something. Okay, he had some parts and he has assembled all of them. So Allah says that especially so when he was the one who had assembled these scattered particles in his being. So this is not difficult for him. Second time. Okay, some related questions and their answers. The incident mentioned in the above verse raises certain questions like, 1. To begin with, why did Ibrahim alayhi raise this question at all? While he was in accepting faith in the perfect power of Allah Almighty, he was prophet, he was Rasul, he was the messenger, the foremost believer out of the whole world of his time. This has already been answered earlier when it was said that the question raised by Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi was not in reality based on any doubt. The purpose of the question was to reaffirm that Allah Almighty will raise the dead on the day of resurrection. Given his perfect power, this was no distant or surprising in any manner at all. It was rather absolutely certain, but raising the dead to life is beyond man's power. He never saw a dead person rising to life. Then, the act of rising the dead to life could take different modes and forms. Now, it is man's nature that he keeps inquiring into modes and forms of that which he does not know by visual experience. In doing so, his thought wander in different directions, is a result of which he bears by the pen of mental distraction. The state that helps remove this mental distraction and is replaced by a heart at rest is called sukoon or peace. This is what Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam sought through his request. Incidentally, the difference between iman, faith, and itminan, means peace, also comes out from this discussion. Iman is the name of that voluntary belief or certainty which man receives about something not seen or known. That is iman. By trusting the Rasul, messenger of Allah, while itminan refers to peace of the heart. There are times when one does perfectly believe in something not seen, but there is no peace of heart because its modes and forms are not known. This peace can come only by visual experience. Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam was also a perfect believer in life after death. His question was simply concerned with the modality of man's being raised to life. Clear? Second point, and second thing, when Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam had simply asked as to how the dead will be raised and had no doubt in the actual raising of the dead, The question is, how can the divine interrogation, awalam tu'min, is it that you do not believe, be explained? It would seem that there was no occasion for it. The answer is that Sayyidina Ibrahim ﷺ had meant to say that there is no doubt in the actual happening, but the question can be taken in two senses. The obvious one relates to this very position, that is, he wished to inquire how the dead will be raised. But the words of the question may also point out to a second sense, which is prompted by doubt in or denial of the real power. For instance, you see a heavy package and you are sure that such and such a person cannot lift it, and then to test his capacity, you challengingly tell him, let's see how you lift it, since anybody could have taken Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam question in this wrong sense. Therefore, Allah Almighty, in order to free Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam from this possibility, addressed him with awalam tu'min, so that he could say, Bala, yes, why not? In reply, and thus get past the ambush laid out by liars and accusers. Accuse
Ambush.
ambush, that is ambush.
Yeah.
Okay, the third point, at least Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam's question settles this much, that he was not at peace concerning the problem of life after death. Also, it has been reported from Sayyidina Ali radiallahu ta'ala an that he said, if a curtain is raised from that which is unseen, it will aid nothing to my certainty and peace, since I enjoy perfect peace through my very faith in the unseen. Now, when some of his followers enjoy such an elevated state of peace, how can it be that the very friend of Allah will remain without it? In this connection, let's be clear that itminan, or peace of heart, has its own gradations. There is an itminan that the men of Allah, awliya Allah, and the true siddiqeen have. Then there is an exalted grade of itminan which is given to the general line of prophets alayhim assalam, and there is a grade even above it which is bestowed upon the special ones in the form of visual experience. Surely Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salatu wasalam had the degree of peace which Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam had, even a higher degree of itminan which is special to the stations of prophets. In this degree of itminan, Sayyidina Ibrahim alayhi salam was superior to all his followers. Okay, so these are some explanations. Like towards the end of the verse, it was said, in Allah Azizun Hakim, that is, Allah Almighty is all powerful and all wise, through Aziz. The perfect power of Allah was pointed to, and through Hakim, the all wise, it was indicated that it is in Allah's wisdom that visual experience of life after death is not granted to everyone. Otherwise, it is not at all difficult for Allah to make every man see it for himself. But in that case, the superior quality of having faith without seeing, means al-iman bil-ghayb, will not be there. And this is required. So, alhamdulillah, many things are clear, I think. You have any question?
No, it's clear enough. A very good explanation. Alhamdulillah.
So now it's your turn to translate. Your time starts.
Or like the one who passed by a township which had been overturned on its roof. He said, how will Allah bring this town to life after its death? Then Allah caused him to die for 100 years and then revived him. He asked, "How long have you remained?" He said, "I remained for a day or part of a day." He said, "Nay, you have remained for 100 years. Look at your food and your drink. They have not rotted. And look at your donkey, and we will make you a sign for the people. And look at the bones, how we raise them, and then we cover them with flesh." Then when it became clear to him, he said, "I know that Allah has power over everything." And when Ibrahim said, "My Lord, show me how you give life to the dead," he said, "Not believed?" He replied, "Yes, but let me see so that my heart may be satisfied." He said, "Then take 4 birds and familiarize them towards you, that is, tame them. Then, after slaughtering them, put on each hair a portion of them. Then call them, they will come flying to you in haste. And know that Allah is Almighty, all wise."
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. Ameen.
Okay, Brother Ahmed. So I think the Shab Barat will start now over there.
Yeah, in 5 minutes. Yeah,
5 minutes.
about 5 minutes.
Okay, so just keep remembers in your prayers as well, inshallah. And
Yes,
your
likewise.
beginnings. Yeah.
Inshallah.
May Allah Almighty accept it from all the people are doing over the globe. Inshallah.
Ameen. Ameen.
See you then tomorrow.
Right, see you, inshallah.
Being healthy. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.